Hello, I'm Dr. Nikki. Welcome to my Musculoskeletal Anatomy YouTube channel, where we aim to break down difficult concepts in simple ways. Anatomy is one of the oldest disciplines of medicine. Did you know that the word dissect means to separate or to cut something in parts? So our aorta, the biggest vessel or pipe that supplies blood and oxygen to the entire body, is subject to a lot of stress. So obviously, a lot can go wrong. Today, I want to focus on what happens in an aortic dissection. An aortic dissection is the most common catastrophe of the aorta. In fact, it is 2 to 3 times more common than a AAA, or abdominal aortic aneurysm. If it is left untreated, patients have an associated mortality rate of 1 to 2% per hour after the onset of symptoms. So before we get into the pathology, let us revise the anatomy of the aorta. So this super strong vessel is going to originate from the left ventricle of the heart, where it is going to pump oxygenated blood through the aortic semilunar valve that is located at the aortic orifice or root. It is at this level that it's going to give off its 2 collateral branches, being the left and right coronary arteries, which supply blood to the muscle of the heart. The aorta is going to run vertically, running next to the pulmonary trunk, and is about 5 centimeters or 2 inches in length, and we call this the ascending aorta. As it then passes the second sternocostal joint, it is going to continue as the arch of the aorta, and the arch of the aorta gives rise to 3 collateral branches that is going to supply blood to the head, the neck, and the upper limb. From right to left, these are going to be the brachiocephalic trunk, the left common carotid artery, and the left subclavian artery. The ligamentum arteriosum, which is going to be those remnants of the fetal ductus arteriosus, is also going to be located at the level of this left subclavian artery. The aorta will then terminate as a continuation of the descending or thoracic aorta as it passes the transthoracic plane or the T4 vertebral level. This will then enter the posterior mediastinum. Let's now have a look at a cross-section through the wall of this vessel to help us to revise the 3 structural layers. So if we're starting with the lumen of the blood vessel, we know this is going to be where blood that is going to contain oxygen is then going to flow through to then supply the respective organs and structures. The first layer, or the inner lining, is going to be the tunica intima, or the endothelial lining. Next, we then have the tunica media, that is composed of elastic and muscular tissue, which regulates the internal diameter of the vessel. And then on the outside, as represented in green, we have the tunica adventitia or the tunica externa. These layers are going to be thickest in the ascending aorta, just given the sheer amount of stress that this region is going to be subject to. So very neatly, in this region, it is going to contain microvessels within that outer tunica adventitia that are called your vasa vasorum. These are going to supply the external vessel wall as well as the adjacent smooth muscle. Obviously, this is not quite anatomically correctly represented, but you get the gist. Aortic dissection is going to occur when pressurized blood gains access to the arterial wall through a surface defect located in the tunica intima. It is then going to push apart those underlying layers. This will then form a blood-filled chamber within that aortic wall. So in stage 1, we can see that there is a longitudinal tear in that internal thin tunica intima layer. Subsequently, we know that blood is going to keep flowing through that lumen, and as the pressure increases, some of that blood is going to get redirected via the tear in the tunica intima. This will dissect the tunica media and create 2 channels of blood flow, in turn creating a false lumen. So we have our true lumen, that's going to be the blood vessel, but then the false lumen is going to run either side, so in parallel. This doesn't just easily happen, given the strength and the functional importance of the aorta. So there are 2 principles as to why a dissection is going to occur. Firstly, this occurs in an anatomical area that is under a ton of stress. So within the bloodstream, the most ideal place is going to be where we have the greatest velocity of systolic blood flow. This is going to peak to up to 500 centimeters per second at the level of the aortic root, as it gets pushed out or ejected from the heart. Similarly, as blood passes through the ascending aorta, it has a peak velocity of 150 to 170 centimeters per second. This means that dissection is most likely to occur in the proximal 10 centimeters of the aorta. This also forms the basis of the Stanford and the DeBakey classification systems, which are methods used to separate dissections into those that require surgical repair versus those that require medical management. For example, Stanford Type A refers to lesions that are located proximal to the left subclavian artery. I personally remember this as A affects ascending aorta, while Type B will arise distal to the level of the left subclavian artery. So there are a couple of underlying causes that are going to weaken that tunica media. The most common cause in older adults, especially in males aged between 40 and 60, is going to be chronic hypertension. So hypertension is going to cause hyaline arteriolosclerosis in the vasa vasorum, which decreases blood flow then to that extracellular matrix and the smooth muscle cells that we have discussed in those outer walls, forcing them to undergo necrosis. This in turn is going to lead to degeneration of the elastin and the muscular fibers in the tunica media. This makes it more prone to dissection, particularly when it's under high stress conditions. Other causes may include aortic coarctation, a bicuspid aortic valve, or in individuals that have congenital connective tissue disorders such as Marfan's syndrome. You may have learnt in your clinical practice sessions that patients will typically present with sharp anterior chest pain that will radiate to the back between the scapula. This will be described as an excruciating, tearing or stabbing pain, which will also move downwards as the dissection progresses. Now let's finish up with thinking about where blood in this false lumen that's been created will go, and what are the complications associated with an aortic dissection. So firstly, Let's think about what happens if the tear is in that ascending aorta and in the vicinity of the pericardial sac. So once the blood then blows out of the vessel wall, it's then going to flow downwards with gravity, and within the surrounding pericardial sac, it's going to then accumulate and keep building as the heart keeps pumping. This ultimately is going to result in pericardial tamponade, which is going to then flow around the heart, compressing the heart, and then leading to a decrease in cardiac output and ultimately shock. This is the most common cause of death attributed to aortic dissection. Secondly, if the blood blows out through the tunica media and the tunica externa into the mediastinum, this is going to result in fatal hemorrhage and is ultimately going to kill you very quickly, just because of the sheer amount of blood and the sheer velocity of blood then filling those mediastinal spaces. And then the final thing that can happen is that the blood continues to travel distally through that false lumen and progress further down that aorta. We then have blood traveling longitudinally parallel to our true lumen, and it's then going to course distally until it reaches the origin of some of our important collateral vessels, such as the renal arteries or the subclavian arteries. By restricting and compressing the blood flow of these collateral branches, it is going to decrease blood flow and ultimately lead to end organ ischemia. Thank you for learning alongside my drawings, which attempt to explain this important vascular condition that is aortic dissection. Stay curious, keep learning in different ways, and check out my other YouTube videos, which make anatomy and difficult medical concepts a little bit more easy and bearable to understand.